Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra is finally here, which means that it is time for the ultimate camera test comparison between the Google Pixel 8 Pro, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Which one has the best camera? Well, you will find out in this video. But before we begin, hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versus, and I have a very exciting announcement for you. We will be giving away the S24 collection to 3 lucky winners. So you will have the chance to win either the Samsung Galaxy S24 base model, the Samsung Galaxy 24 Plus, or the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Make sure to click the link in the description or in the pinned comment down below to enter. Now, let's get into this juicy comparison, and I want to thank Hide.me for sponsoring this video. So to kick things off, let's start with standard photos, as I imagine this is a mode that will be used the most frequently. On this particularly miserable windy day, the iPhone captured my ecstatic impression perfectly. Although I may look unhappy, the amount of exposure is just right and the coloring is on point. Even though the Pixel's coloring is slightly off, I do think it looks very natural, and I do like the bokeh it gives the image, although it has not been shot in portrait mode. However, the contrast is a tad too strong. Sorry to say, but the Galaxy looks plain awful. It's overexposed, the details in the buildings at the back are missing, and I just look sick. Not a good look, Samsung. Not a good look. I'm not really sure what happened to the Galaxy here, but this time round, it's completely failed in the exposure department. The image is super dark and would require quite a bit of work in post. The iPhone and the Pixel both do a good job here. The iPhone is sharper and more saturated, but the Pixel looks very high quality, like it came out of a professional camera. This is a tough one, so I'll need to tie these two in first place. I'm starting to feel bad for the Galaxy, but seriously, what is going on here? Why am I a tomato? The Galaxy S24's red tint issue really needs to be taken care of by Samsung because we've experienced issues with the white balance way too frequently. The iPhone takes the win here as it produced an overall great photo with the best color accuracy, sharpness, and exposure. Sadly, the Pixel is a bit too dim and it's missing that punch of sharpness, specifically in my eyes. I swear you're going to start calling me a Galaxy hater, but this photo just isn't good. The contrast is much too harsh. Plus, I'm about to turn into a giant tomato any minute. Clearly a standard for the S24. The iPhone does the best job here yet again with the right amount of exposure and sharpness, whilst the Pixel fails slightly on both of those. Time for a windswept nighttime look, and to no surprise, the Galaxy continues to perform badly by overexposing my face, making me look ghostly this time, whilst the Pixel is underexposing. I'm not trying to be biased, but the iPhone clearly wins yet again. Unless you have a preference for overexposed photos, discussing the Galaxy might not even be necessary. The Pixel actually does quite a nice job here, but as the photos are overall slightly too dim, we'll have to give the point to the iPhone. Let's pause for a moment. If you're someone who may be in need of a VPN to make sure you feel secure at all times no matter what you're doing, then you will want to hear this next part. Let me introduce you to Hide.me. Hide.me is one of the fastest offshore VPNs with 24/7 support and cross-platform access. Enjoy 10 GB speeds across 2,300 servers globally. With this VPN, you can set your location to the US and access all the features the Google Pixel 8 Pro offers. You can also navigate the web with a trusted ally, SmartGuard, proactively guarding against malware, tracking, ads, and phishing threats in real time. Plus, they don't store logs, ensuring your actions remain yours. And the best part, you can start for free. Click the link in the description to secure your online freedom with Hide.me. Simple, secure, and yours. Now let's move on to ultra-wide photos. Alright, the Galaxy is looking pretty good, finally. The exposure is on point and it's giving the photo a good amount of saturation despite the cloudy conditions. The iPhone and the Pixel both do a pretty decent job, but the only reason I'll give the Pixel second place is because I feel that it distorts my face slightly less, whereas the iPhone gives me a bit of a horse-like appearance. The Galaxy continues to perform really well in this next photo, as it has a pleasing amount of saturation and exposure. However, I'd say that the Pixel has the most natural looking photo and the most realistic coloring. Sadly, the iPhone is giving overexposed horse vibes. I'm thrilled that the Galaxy S24 Ultra is starting to perform well. What a relief! It definitely gets the best photo here, as the exposure is top notch, as is the saturation. Apart from slight color variations, I personally can't see too many differences between the the iPhone and the Pixel, so they will tie in second place. Although I'm looking slightly pasty, the Galaxy generally manages to expose the image enough so that you can see my features pretty well. The iPhone looks very natural, but the shadows are just slightly too harsh, and the Pixel is, well, it's extremely dark and unusable in my opinion. The Galaxy's coming through yet again. As you can see, the Pixel struggles with exposure in low light conditions, and the iPhone is looking quite blurry, specifically on my face. So without question, first place goes to the Galaxy. I want to say that our videographer Emmanuel's hand must have been slightly shaky during the iPhone's photo, and as it has overall better exposure than the Pixel, it'll have to come in second place despite the blurriness. In this last photo, the iPhone and the Pixel look very similar apart from slight color variations, specifically in the sky. However, the Pixel does have a slightly wider angle capturing more of the scenery, which is what we want when it comes to ultra-wide photos. The Galaxy looks overly blue and my face is far too exposed, but I still think it's a better image overall as it's sharper than the rest.
As always, if there's something I love, you guys know that it's portrait mode. I love a good photo with a nice bokeh in the background. So let's see what these phones can do.
I think it's fair to say that the iPhone has the best edge detection, as it manages to get almost every single piece of my hair in the shot. It also has the warmest tone out of the three and the most natural looking bokeh. The Pixel and the Galaxy are extremely similar, so it's difficult to mark a clear winner, as both photos are totally usable. However, the Galaxy does better with coloring, so it'll take second place. Here, the iPhone yet again performs the best, from edge detection to exposure, and even has the most accurate coloring. To be completely honest, I don't love either of the photos coming from the Galaxy or the Pixel. The Pixel's edge detection is off and the whole photo has a blue-purple tint. On the other hand, the Galaxy has better coloring, but it's slightly overexposed and my face looks super smoothed out. Let's just call it a draw between the two. In the next photo, the iPhone does a pretty good job at saturating my face the right amount, but it does give off a slightly greenish hue, as it likes to do. Nevertheless, I personally think it does the best job, especially at edge detection, which it's clearly very good at. The Galaxy leaves me looking slightly paler with a tiny bit of a cooler undertone, but I do prefer the bokeh effect here as it's smoother and the white balance is successful. In my opinion, the Pixel is overly sharp and I'm also left looking far too pale for my liking. We like to do this little thing called a blind test comparison now and again, where we post 3 photos and we ask you to rate which one you think is best. And the winner was, drumroll please, the Galaxy S24 Ultra. And we agree. The Galaxy takes another win here, as overall this photo turned out great. It's not overly saturated, nor is it overexposed, so well done, Samsung! There is a minor error in the edge detection in my hair, but in this particular case, it doesn't bother me too much as the rest of the elements came out great. iPhone takes second place as the colors on my jacket pop nicely and the edge detection is much better than on the Pixel. Portrait mode at night is not the easiest. The iPhone and the Galaxy seem to struggle with focusing on the subject, whereas the Pixel came out completely sharp. When it comes to other elements such as saturation, contrast, exposure, and edge detection, I'd say the iPhone and the Galaxy do pretty similarly. The next image was taken at a slightly earlier time when it wasn't completely dark yet, but we'd still consider it as low light. The white balance on the Pixel somehow freaked out here and turned the whole image orange. The Galaxy and the iPhone perform equally well with just slight color differences, but since the iPhone has better edge detection and the Galaxy is sharper, they will need to tie in second place. Now let's move on to video and audio, as for me personally, this is super important when choosing which phone to go for. I'll be honest, the lighting wasn't ideal at this location. However, I'm impressed with how the Pixel has handled it. It exposed my face perfectly and generally the video looks very good. Unfortunately, the iPhone has really struggled and the entire video is far too underexposed. The Galaxy lands exactly in the middle. Not bad, but just not as good as the Pixel. Outside with natural daylight, the iPhone shows who's boss again. Everything is the right amount, from exposure to saturation and even sharpness. Initially, I found the Galaxy to be a little bit too dark, however I also found the Pixel a little too bright, so it's a tough call. I'd say overall the Galaxy looks more natural, as the Pixel has made my face look far too smooth, as if there's some kind of filter on, which isn't ideal as it loses details in the video. In ultra-wide video, although the Galaxy generally gives off a nice quality with good exposure and color accuracy, the iPhone has to take the win due to its wider framing. As for the Pixel, although the framing looks good, it's giving off a slight green and yellow tint, which I'm not loving. In this next ultra-wide video, it's clear that the iPhone produces the best results. Its exposure looks great. I'd say the Pixel performs slightly better than the Galaxy here, as it manages to keep my face illuminated at all times, while the Galaxy has quite a high contrast, which is casting big shadows all over my features. Ultra-wide at night is never easy. All the videos have a shake to them, but the Pixel seems to handle it best. In regular video though, the Galaxy has the most natural look in terms of color accuracy, and although the exposure isn't ideal, I still favor it over the iPhone. Although the iPhone seems to smooth out my features a little too aggressively, I do think it's overall a better video, as the desaturation in the Pixel is just too extreme for my liking. Stabilization is a crucial part when making sure you can capture the best videos. So here are the results from all three cameras. The Galaxy definitely has the best performance even without active mode turned on. It's smooth like butter, whereas the iPhone is shaking quite a bit. The Pixel does okay, but it's not ideal. With active stabilization on, the iPhone does perform better, but it's still not as smooth as the Galaxy, although it too has some bobbing up and down. I have no idea what's going on though with the Pixel, because it is quite a disaster.
As you all probably know by now, I'm a sucker for a good selfie, but I'm also a very picky selfie taker. So let's see what these devices can do and which selfie I'm gonna like the most.
In this first selfie, I'd say all of the devices perform pretty well. I don't see a huge difference. If we have to be super picky, we can say that the Pixel has the least sharpness and the Galaxy has the best exposure, but let's be completely fair here. All of the images are 100% usable, and so it's a draw for me. In the next photo, the Galaxy's white balance has gone slightly bonkers, as I'm looking quite reddish purple, which is definitely not a vibe. The iPhone looks a tiny bit oversaturated, but generally has good detail and exposure. However, I personally think the Pixel looks the most natural with the best color accuracy, so it's a winner for me. Wow, okay. In low light, the Galaxy has airbrushed my face to the max. Although I appreciate a smoother skin tone, this is coming across as completely unnatural, so for me it's a major turnoff. The iPhone and the Pixel have gone in completely opposite directions when it comes to my skin tone, and I have to say I prefer the iPhone here, as the Pixel has completely washed me out, making me look kinda ghostly and sickly. However, both images are blurry, so it will just need to be a tie, and the rest goes down to preference if you're more into muted tones or saturated tones. Moving on to front camera and video, I'd say all the devices have pretty decent quality despite the iPhone being slightly overexposed and the Galaxy being slightly underexposed. It's funny because indoors I have a completely different opinion on the video quality. My favorite has to be the iPhone, as the exposure and saturation are perfect. The Galaxy has a strange purpley blue tint that isn't looking great at all, and although the Pixel looks okay and quite natural, it does have a slightly warmer orange hue, which isn't ideal.
Now starting with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, this is what the built-in microphone sounds like. What do we think? Then we have the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. It is a little bit windy, so just keep that in mind, but how is it handling the wind? Finally, we have the Google Pixel 8 Pro. How is it sounding? What do we think? How is that built-in microphone doing?
I'd say the Galaxy does the best job with noise cancellation and keeping that wind noise to a minimum. I really wouldn't say that there's much of a difference between the iPhone and the Pixel, as they both fail to block out any of the wind, but nevertheless, the sound of my voice is pretty crisp and clear.
So starting with the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, this is what the built-in microphone sounds like. What do we think? Next we have the Google Pixel 8 Pro. How are we feeling about this built-in microphone? Let us know. Finally, we have the iPhone 15 Pro Max. How is it on this one? How am I sounding?
Apart from the Galaxy sounding a tiny bit muffled due to its strong noise cancellation abilities, I'd say all built-in mics perform reasonably well and are totally usable, so it's a draw for me. So overall, for video quality, the iPhone comes in first place with the Galaxy in last place, and for video audio, I'd say the Galaxy comes in first place, whilst the iPhone and Pixel tie in second place.
So let us test the slow-mo now. I'm going to do a cheeky cartwheel here and a handstand, and let's see how the performance is on each one of these beauties.
When it comes to slow-mo, the Galaxy S24 Ultra is quite impressive because it can shoot up to 4K when shooting at 120 FPS. You do see a tiny bit of distortion on the floor at the beginning when I'm going into the cartwheel, however I still think overall the 4K resolution beats the rest. The other two videos are both recorded in 1080p resolution, but there appears to be a significant amount of noise on the Pixel, whereas the iPhone footage remains sharp. When shooting at 240 FPS, all the devices can only shoot in 1080p. However, the Galaxy still remains the sharpest and looks the best. When comparing the iPhone to the Pixel, I'd say the iPhone generally delivers sharper results, as the Pixel's footage tends to maintain its noise and blur. As we all know, Samsung decided to drop its 10 times optical zoom, which has been a huge bummer for a lot of fans. Nevertheless, let's see how the zoom performs on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Our goal was to zoom into the golden victory column. At 3 times zoom, all devices perform okay. Nothing much to comment on here. Skipping to 5 times zoom, the iPhone and the Pixel seem a tad more overexposed than the Galaxy. At 10 times zoom, the Pixel remains overexposed, and although the iPhone tones the exposure slightly down, its shadows are too heightened. The iPhone also cannot go past 25 times zoom, therefore we've cropped into the image just for the sake of this comparison. The Galaxy stands out here as it's the sharpest out of the lot. Naturally, the iPhone doesn't look good and the Pixel is completely missing its sharpness. The unique thing about the Galaxy S24 Ultra is that it can go all the way up to 100 times zoom, which the iPhone and the Pixel cannot. So as before, we have cropped into the other two images, but either way, I'd say neither of the photos look great, but I suppose the Galaxy generally performed more successfully throughout, and I mean, you have the ability to shoot up to 100 times zoom, so it's gotta at least get a point for that.
I'm telling you guys, macro photos are something else. They just are so exciting for me. Let's see which one performs the best.
I'm actually loving how the Galaxy is performing in this first image. It nailed the exposure, saturation, and overall sharpness brilliantly. The Pixel also resulted in a sharp image, however it's definitely lacking in exposure. Unfortunately, the iPhone really struggled here, as the image is neither sharp nor exposed properly. It also has a slight green tone to it, which, as we know, the iPhone loves to do occasionally. Thankfully, the Pixel comes through in this next photo of my wrecked boots. It's been a long winter, okay? The color accuracy, exposure, and sharpness is all there. Good job, Google. It's tough to choose between the iPhone and the Galaxy, as neither have done very well. The iPhone's green tint is screaming hello, and the Galaxy is overexposed. I'd say the texture and sharpness is slightly more prominent on the Galaxy, so for that reason alone, it'll get an extra point. Personally, I think all of these apples look delicious. It's gotta be a draw here, as I'm not seeing major differences between them. Perhaps the Galaxy is a tiny bit sharper, specifically on the stem of the apple, but that's being really picky. So finally, let's summarize each category and see who the winners are. For standard photos, the iPhone comes in first place, followed by the Pixel, and then the Galaxy in third place. Next we have ultra-wide photos, where interestingly, the Galaxy takes first place, followed by the Pixel, and then the iPhone. In portrait mode, the iPhone takes first place, then comes the Galaxy, and unfortunately, the Pixel has ended up in last place. In videos using the back cameras, the iPhone takes the first place, followed by the Galaxy with just 2 points less, and the Pixel with just 1 point less comes in last place. However, when it comes to stabilization, the Galaxy actually takes first place, followed by a draw between the Pixel and the iPhone. For front camera photos, the Pixel takes first place with the iPhone right behind it and the Galaxy in last place. With front camera videos, expectedly the iPhone takes first place, followed by the Pixel, placing the Galaxy in last place. However, when it comes to audio, the Galaxy takes the win, followed by a draw between the Pixel and the iPhone. Slow-mo goes to the Galaxy due to its impeccable 4K abilities, and then comes the iPhone with the Pixel in last place. It was very clear that the Galaxy is the winner when it comes to the zoom. The other two draw in second place. And finally, in macro photos, the Pixel and the Galaxy tie in first place, leaving the iPhone in last place. So that pretty much sums up these 3 different phones. We hope you found this review useful and we would love to hear your thoughts. Which one would you choose? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to enter the giveaway for a chance to win something from the S24 series. As always, give this video a big like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to be a part of our Versus community if you aren't already. With that being said, we'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care.